Think of it as the rough draft of the podcast world. This is the Newbie Writers Podcast with your hosts, Damien Boat and Catherine Bramkamp.
Hello and welcome to episode 205 of the Newbie Writers Podcast. I'm Carla Caruso and I'm turning the tables on Catherine and Damien. I'm interviewing them.
Yeah.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
Look, it's a pleasure to be
I'm
here.
so excited to be on today.
Oh, I know. Have you been interviewed before?
No. What's this show about anyway?
What is this show?
Yeah,
You're telling me for the next hour.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Maybe I should have listened to a show beforehand.
You should have prepared.
You know, we're
Done
going to
your
air.
research.
We are going
Right.
to air all of our grievances today, aren't we?
Be prepared, listeners.
Yes.
Yeah. So do you want me to just jump into the questions or tell us about your weeks?
Well, okay. My week was pretty average, but you know, I don't know if you found how you got, because Carla, you're here in Adelaide.
Yes.
The weather sucks.
Yeah, it's been really humid, like you know,
Yeah,
Sydney, Queensland style,
I know.
the north of our country.
If I wanted to live in that sort of thing, I would have moved there. So I don't
It's
know.
a bit of a worry that this is climate change and this is how it's going to be. This
I
is
know.
only going to get worse.
That's true. So I don't know. It's just been a struggle, I think, more so that whole climate change completely this week. It's just thrown me out.
Yeah,
So.
especially now it's autumn. You know, you're prepared for kind of crisp days and golden leaves and you're sweating.
I know. It's just awkward. Anyway.
How's it in your side of the woods, Catherine?
In California, it's flooding because we can't
Wow.
have it just green. It's got to either be drought or when they finally do get rain, it all falls off of whatever handy cliff and or hill we have.
Wow.
Shoots down into the roads. So it's we have exciting weather this week.
Well,
okay.
I saw on the news a little while back, and I don't know why or how your councils approve this, Catherine, but you've got like houses right on the edge of cliffs, and then they seem shocked when one of them falls into the ocean.
Oh yeah, completely shocked. And here's the thing that makes people, I'm sure you look at us and think you're insane. When somebody says, "Oh, my house fell off a cliff," no, we're going to rebuild right there.
I know.
Mostly because they can't afford to sell they can't sell the house and they can't afford to abandon it and buy a new house. That's a lot of it is economic. But we were driving along the coast a couple weeks ago, and we could see houses that were just perched on cliffs, and our cliffs in this area in Northern California are not very stable. So the cliff has anything eaten away underneath the house, and they're all sliding off the cliff. It's pretty spectacular.
But
not anything I'd recommend, but it's pretty spectacular.
At what point did someone fail to ask the question, hey, what's the rate of erosion every year on this cliff face? And if they say, well, it's about a foot a year, wouldn't you put it like 50 feet away?
Yeah, you would, except a lot of those houses were purchased and built like in the late 19th century, so early 20th century, when you could build any place. I have friends who have a house practically on top of a river, which now would never be allowed. And then then it's all grandfathered in, and so there's nothing anybody does about it. And so then all of a sudden your house falls down off of the cliff. So it's not an easy answer. It's not an easy situation, because people just are like, oh, we've always had this house, and you're looking at their backyard thinking, not for long.
Yeah. It'd be hard to sell because the history
it's hard,
of the
it's
house.
impossible to sell. As a matter of fact, they're probably all tagged and unlivable, and they're really, those poor people really are stuck, because California real estate is very expensive. They can't really go anyplace. They can't move. What do you do? So it's pretty tragic. But yes, one would ask the question, why would you build right on a cliff, even if you had no knowledge of how geography worked or geology?
You'd have a nice
I would
view,
have
though.
a home. Say, maybe a few feet back. Sorry.
You would have a nice view, but I don't know. I imagine lying in bed and it's a bit windy and you hear the house creaking and you're like, could this be it?
Yeah.
Or if you've got kids that you have to sort of, soothe. No, we're not falling in the water today. Or what have you.
Mummy,
Yeah,
is the house
yeah.
falling? Not that I'm aware of.
Could be.
Let's go look.
Far out. I don't know. Actually, speaking of kids saying things, Julian said to me in the car yesterday, I don't know, the news was on the radio talking about America and that sort of stuff. And this is, Catherine, for you, this is how I guess America's perceived, obviously by younger eyes. He says, Dad, if we go to America, do we need to bring a gun? No.
Seeing a lot
Oh,
of,
good boy.
seeing a lot of
Very
Donald
good
Trump too
Very
on
good
our
question.
TVs.
Yes, a lot of Donald Trump.
Oh, well, yeah, and if you'd like to take a shot at Trump, I'd be
Oh.
more than happy to defend him.
Oh my God. Actually, someone has created an app, I think I saw somewhere, where you can take a picture of Trump and shrink his hands down so they're really tiny. Looks hilarious.
Are his hands that tiny?
No.
No. It's just his attitude.
That's funny. That's very nice. I love that.
Talks with his hands. All right. Anyway.
Oh yeah, don't take me down that road. It's very depressing to be over here and listen to that and think, oh my God, I got to travel to Europe this summer and everybody's going to ask me about Trump.
Is there anyone else running? Because
Yeah, no, apparently
that's all we
not.
see. The most powerful man on earth, or whatever they call it, or talked about.
No, that's
The
what he
most
calls
powerful-
himself.
sorry.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
largest
yeah.
hands on the planet. I don't know.
God. Anyway, we got our own problems anyway.
Yes.
Turnbull. Ah,
Politics is not perfect no matter where you are.
I know. I don't think I could imagine me in politics.
Even office politics.
Yeah, even office politics, absolutely. It all kind of it ends up being very similar, and that's depressing too. So it's like,
The human race, isn't it?
yeah, like
Yeah.
oh, we're all doomed.
See, I don't have office politics because it's just
That's right, you
myself and
don't.
one
Those are
other
fast meetings. That's very cool.
meeting.
What What do you do again? Or
I run a
AV stuff or something?
audio-visual
Yeah.
business. So it's just myself and my installer. Oh, and an electrician. But I had this conversation only yesterday. Someone was in a meeting and they said to me, "You must do meetings all the time." I said, "No, I own the business. I just point and ask them to do.
That's
Such
right.
thing as meetings." God, I don't believe in meetings.
So you all get on well, the three of you.
We have to, yes,
Yeah.
because if we don't, then they're out of a job and I'll need to find someone else, and that's
Yeah,
just
that sucks.
that sucks when there's not too many people in my industry. So we've got a pool of like 20 people to call on. Doesn't really help if you're pissed off half
Oh,
of them.
right. Everyone always
Word to
blames
get
the
out,
AV
too.
people too. The things
Um,
that go wrong.
yes, I'm aware of that. And the electrician
What do you
too.
do?
What?
What do you do? Why is AV so hard for people to work out?
I'm not really sure. I think it's because it can be a bit daunting to some people,
Right,
and they
myself
think,
included.
it's all a bit complicated, but it's not really. It just plugs in and away it goes.
It doesn't actually just plug in a way.
It does. Because you know that when the tech gets there, it magically works, doesn't it?
Yes.
Right? Is that because you plug it in?
Correct.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or in the case of last week where the electrician had to isolate some power for me and the previous electrician had done something wrong. So when he hit the button, it knocked out the whole building, all the internet, everything.
Oh no.
You've got IT going white, running across the courtyard going, switch it on!
Oh no.
Anyway, now, have you got
You
some
want-
questions for me?
I do.
Mm.
No, yeah, tired of talking about work.
Yeah.
Yeah, so turning the tables, as we said. So
Mm.
tell us how long where was Newbie Writers podcast born? Or how was it born?
I was actually trying to remember this because I had taken over Newbie Writers from someone else, from Dawn Coatman, who's over at Writing World now. And,
with Catherine?
no,
No, wait for
No.
it. Wait for it. There's the story.
look,
Okay,
there is
tell
a
us the
story.
story.
It's a bit long-winded, but it's a bit awkward.
Okay.
So I'm a nerd, right? And I have mentioned this on the show before. I was big into a game called World of Warcraft, right? And the creators of that show, of that game, had a competition, write a short story. And so I've always been interested in writing, and my brain went, how hard can it be? harder than you think. And I got stuck on page 1. And
Page 1.
Wow.
yeah, and so I
That
started
hard.
I started to Google how to write a short story. Newbie Writers came up and had a forum. I was like, cool. I tried to join, and it came up with this message saying, due to excessive spam, you'll need to email the creator and they'll sign you up. I'm like, well, that's not really how forums work, but whatever. So I emailed them, got onto the forum and asked my questions. And that was fine. They were really nice, really helpful. But the way the site was run was very sort of locked down. And so I emailed Dawn because I was running various forums and other things as well. And I said, I'll help you out. It's quite a simple fix. You can do this, this, and this. And so she was grateful for that, and I helped her out. Didn't think much of it. Hung around for a little bit. And then one day got an email, I don't know, about 6 months later, saying, I'm shutting Newbie Writers down. I can't run it anymore. I was like, oh, that's not fair. It's a good community. And without even thinking, because I tend to run my life without thinking. I just do.
Autopilot.
Yeah. I just responded and said, I'll take it over. And I don't know why.
So was it a forum though?
It was a forum.
And also a podcast? Or?
No, it was just a forum, and it had a newsletter, and it had articles. A lot of the articles were sort of focused on getting a newbie published, mainly in magazines, and getting your start that way, and making a little bit of money from it. So upgraded the forums, and it was only going to carry on like that. The only hard bit was when Dawn said, yep, here's all the logins. Feel free to do whatever you want. By the way, you need to get a newsletter out once a month, I think it was.
Okay.
On how to write.
So is Dawn a fiction writer?
No,
don't know. Okay,
no, I think she was
the wrong questions.
No, I think she was a teacher, but she did a lot of non-fiction stuff.
Okay.
Possibly, but again, it was sort of magazines based. Get your article in a magazine about
right.
doing whatever. I could be wrong, but that was my impression anyway. So she's more than welcome to contact me and go, "You idiot."
Come on the show and tell us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's another episode. Okay.
That's right. See, this is how we book more episodes. Come on and correct Damien. And yeah, so I thought, oh shit, how am I going to do that? Someone else, luckily in the community, said, I'll help you out with the newsletters. And it just ran for, I don't know, a good 6 months to a year maybe. But I noticed it was becoming more and more hard work. It was dwindling. I wanted to change things. And I've always liked podcasts. And I thought, again, how hard can it be? So we're going to shut the newsletter down. And I just threw it out there. I literally said, hey, I'm interested in doing a podcast. If anyone else is interested, please email me and we'll have a chat. We'll just take it from there. My idea was to only do 6 episodes. That was my teaser. To say, come on, we'll just do a short little podcast, 6 episodes.
So you had an out.
Yes, but also I've been listening to Ricky Gervais did a podcast series where it was only like 7 or 8 shows. And I thought, well, that's good because you can listen to them all like a season and you get your fill and that's it.
And then they're out. Yeah.
Binge on it. Yeah.
And so it sort of allowed us to then focus down. So it wasn't just a constant running thing. So what's the point? So we've got 6 shows to get the information out. I thought that might be a bit better to focus it down. And I had 2 people respond. The first email was from someone who said, I am available at like 4:00 in the afternoon. I'm in Indonesia. Call me.
Okay.
And then I got an email from Catherine that was about, I don't know, half a page long.
Has a way with words.
Yeah. And yeah, it was good. It was just, hey, I've got these books out. I'm a writer. I work at a university. Oh, by the way, I've been in, was it breakfast radio for a while?
Morning radio.
Well,
wow.
We call it breakfast radio. You tend to eat breakfast in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just like, why don't we just have a quick chat? So, yeah, rang her on Skype.
We did. And Damien said, yeah, it'll only be a few episodes. I said, okay, I'm down with that.
And
how many years later?
Well, it's going to be, 5?
Yeah.
Do you have birthday episodes? Or
yeah, we do occasionally.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Blow a candle out. And, but yeah, we just sort of sat down and we tried it. And I said, why don't we here's the 6. We sort of pulled together show notes for only 6. But I think, was it by the 3rd or 4th? I think someone from the forum, it was Emma from Exceptional Editing. So we should have an editor on. If we're going to talk about editing, I think that was one of the topics I can ask. And that's how it kicked off. It was, oh, hang on, now we're interviewing people. And sooner or later, I think it was, people started to contact us going, oh, be on the show. I think Catherine.
And then I started contacting people. When we got into that groove, where it's like, oh, we can have people on and talk about anything that's interesting to us. This is how I operate. And I started asking people. And so I'd go to conferences, or I would be at a writer's meeting and say, oh, you're really interesting. Hey, you want to be on the show? And nobody has turned us down.
No.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that
which is fun.
We did the sort of first, I think, 3 or 4. Emma was on, and then Catherine's like, oh, well, hang on, the next show was going to be, so I can't remember the topics now, because I don't think we even really covered them all. We still need to do the 6.
There's so much to do.
That and Catherine's like, oh, well, I know this author. They'd be good to talk about that if that's what we're going to be talking about. And I'll get them on. And it just carried on until it was, we're at our 10th episode. Oh, well, hang on, we've got someone else that wants to be on now. Well, we'll do that next week.
So you had no idea what you... Yeah. You didn't know what you'd got yourselves into.
No.
By the sounds of it.
But
I was going to say, Catherine, how did you stumble across the forum to begin with? Or
it was in the newsletter, because Damien was trying to shut it down and realign himself. And there was this little blurb that says, hey, I'm the new guy. I just took this over. And are you interested? I'm looking for someone who's interested in podcasting. And it was exactly the time where I was thinking, I need to do something else, something more, something different. And podcasting would be perfect. I've got a background in, talking into the nether space and not seeing my partners and all of that. And I was like, I'll try it. So that's why I emailed him and said, hey, I'm a writer and I've got enough talent and enough publications that, to make it legitimate. And then we just started to chat and hit it off. And so that was, I don't think we would do this if we didn't like each other, if it wasn't always interesting, if we weren't able to mix things up when we just, we kind of were like, let's do something over here. And that, I think that's been really helpful too.
And how did you, sorry, I know you're supposed to be asking the questions.
No,
but
I was just going to say, you've never met face to face, have you?
No.
Nope.
Oh, no. That could change the whole dynamic. So just keep it like that, I think. Anyway, ask your question.
I'm going to ask a question. My co-host, now I don't think I've ever asked, how did you come across Newbie Writers to begin with, Catherine?
Because I had a newsletter feed. I was subscribing to her newsletter.
Yeah, but how did you find them initially? Because I found it through Google. I was just help for newbie short stories or whatever it was.
I was trying to think about that, and I don't recall at all how I came across it, because I get a number of newsletters. I'm interested in the industry, and I don't remember why that particular newsletter, and sometimes you don't open them. And I certainly did that one time, and there you were. So that's a good question. I absolutely can't remember.
Because you weren't on the forums.
Why I ended up with it on my feed and why I ended up subscribing.
Yeah, it was fate.
I don't remember you being on the forums or anything like that. So I was just curious.
No, I know I wasn't on the forums, because that's not my first thing that I do. So I know that wasn't it.
Yeah.
So you just,
isn't that interesting?
It is. It's strange how things just happen like that. Like I said, I literally just stumbled on it and took it over.
So very cool too. I'm delighted at that.
Yeah.
What kind of radio did you do, Catherine? Like, was it interviewing people and that sort of thing?
Not at all.
No. Okay.
Not at all. I did do interviews when I was a co-host of the morning drive show for radio, absolutely. But for the most part, I was doing, at the time, what was this, 4 years ago? So I was finished with a mystery series, 5 books, and I was just starting the current series I'm working on, Future Girls. And so I was just launching that, and I had a book about writing, and so that helped. We talked about that a lot, and that led us to writing our own. And that could be another question. And I read a lot of articles, and I do interviews for a couple of newsletters. So I still I guess I still do interviews, and sometimes if those interviews are interesting, I have them on the show.
Can't believe you're doing morning radio though. I can't stand morning radio because you have to be so sprightly.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It's brutal. And the guy I worked with is an institution. I just asked him, and and I did it for about a year. But the challenge with radio is it pays about as much as our podcast, and couldn't really sustain that.
So was it like a segment you did, or?
No, I did the show. So
You did the show.
We were on the air from 5 to 10, I think.
Wow.
5 to 10 or 5 to 9.
And that was in California?
Yeah, in California. So we did, the usual bits, traffic, music, the whole shebang. And we came up with funny things. We did one bit for Valentine's Day where we created the world's largest human bonbon. And so I ended up covering a guy in chocolate with marshmallow with whipped cream and cherries on top, and then we took him in a limo to see his wife who worked in a bank. How perfect is that?
Oh my gosh!
And
Sounds
so
like
the
a
guy
radio
walks into the bank with his little bare feet, leaving little chocolate footprints across the floor of the bank. That was live on the show. I did another show where I was the stunt person, where I was in a big balloon it was Domaine Chandon, and they had a balloon in shape of a big champagne bottle, which is great, but that's not as buoyant as a classically shaped hot air balloon. And so I ended up on the show live being dragged across a field because they couldn't get any lift. And the marketing director for Domaine Chandon is like, I could see her on the edge of the field having a heart attack. It's like dragging the most popular, a host of one of the most popular radio stations in the county across a field in a big fail. So we did some fun things.
Wow. What was the station called?
It's called KZST.
KZST. Oh, how interesting.
Yeah, it was a kick. This is a much safer gig, just saying.
Right, yeah.
And so
air balloons.
did you get sick of saying the time?
No, because we would come up with stuff, and we had people would always ask us where we were located, and fortunately, the location had a rhythm to it. So it was 3692 Mendocino Avenue. So you could do a rap song to it, which is what we ended up doing, because you're right, it gets a little tedious to keep repeating.
Wow. I don't know. Did you have to get up really early? Like, what time do you have to get into the studio before you go on air? Like, if you're going to be
5.
on...
I had to get into the studio at 5. We went live at 5:30, so I had to get up at 4:30 at the minimum. Although you don't have to look very good when you're on radio, but I get up, get myself together, and drive. And I'd have to drive. It was physically, you had to be in the studio, so I had to drive north for 20 minutes, and then be perky.
Yeah.
I drank a lot of coffee.
Yeah, I can imagine. So your background's journalism, or just you fell into it?
In English. No, I have a degree in English lit and a master's in creative writing.
Oh, right. So but you like to talk as well. Obviously. Yeah. No, to land in radio, I mean.
Well,
yeah.
All of my friends would agree that, yes, I like to talk.
Okay.
I can't remember, Catherine, you did tell me how you got into radio. Didn't they just put a call out? I mean, they must have been desperate.
Contest.
Wow.
Oh, right.
It was a contest, and I won the contest. They were looking for I think now that I know the radio host, they were looking for a new co-host, and I think that everybody who was already professionally in the business wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole, so they had to do an amateur call-out to get a host for him.
How funny.
Wow.
It sounds like you had a good time. Anyway.
I did. I had a very good time. Great experience. Guy I worked with, he's a nice guy. Just, radio guys have massive egos, and if you get in their way or in the way of their ego, they'll cut you off pretty fast. So once it got to the point where people were asking for me instead of him, I was doomed.
Oh, okay. Gosh. Wow. Yeah. Podcasting is a nicer business by the sounds of it.
It is a lovely, warm, fuzzy business.
But it does help that I think the angle that I tried to take is I'm the complete and utter noob, right? So it sort of appeals to then the people that are listening would be the noob. So I get to ask those stupid questions. So Catherine can be the pro. So she can have all the ego she likes. I'm not going to get in the way of that.
Yeah, so that's what's
Hardly. Every time you write, it's new again. I don't think you can say, yes, I'm all that, because every new book is a brand new problem. So, I think that those who are all over themselves or, like, we're fabulous, I don't think that they last very long as artists.
But I think a lot of podcasts and even radio shows, there's an element of, well, hang on, if you're talking about it, you kind of know what you're talking about. And I tried to mix that up by saying, well, I have no idea, but Catherine might, so let's ask the question.
And I love that.
Unique, isn't it?
I like what you ask, because you ask you think differently, and you ask interesting questions that you're right. Someone listening would say, oh, I've always wanted to ask that question. Thank you so much, Dean.
I'd rather sound like the complete and utter idiot than, I don't know. That's the angle I take, is that if you've got...
I like it. And obviously it works for us.
Well, clearly.
You'd make a good journalist, because, journalists have to ask the dumb questions, for the public, basically, so we can all understand.
Yeah.
And so with your show as well, you've been taping it Saturday mornings and what is it, Friday nights for you, Catherine? For
Friday afternoon for me.
Friday afternoon for 4 years.
Yes.
So the show's always, it comes out straight away once taped.
Yes. So it's kind of going out now. So we developed this thing with the Google Hangouts. It streams it live to YouTube, and the reason for that was there was one show just before Google Hangouts sort of became popular, or at least came out, and I think either I lost it. That's right. I'd done the whole show, interviewed someone, and it crashed as I hit save. So I finished the recording, hit save, and it crashed. I was like, shit. I managed to recover it, but I couldn't recover it all. The last sort of half went really skew. So I then started to look at ways that I could almost do like a backup while we were recording, and seeing the Google Hangouts streamed it out. So, well, that's a good idea. It records it straight to YouTube. And that has saved my ass twice.
Then it's totally worth it, right?
Yeah. With that happening once before, where I hit save, and then all of a sudden, like the first half went blank. I'm like, hey, how's that happen? So I just grabbed it down from YouTube, put it back in, and no one knows the difference.
Ta-da!
But it adds another element that's a little bit disconcerting for our guests, because a lot of them are also new authors that haven't been interviewed before, or they haven't really been on a podcast and that sort of thing. And they're so afraid of saying the wrong thing. And when you say to them, okay, this is going to go live to YouTube, which I usually do about 2 minutes before I hit record, you hear them go, what? But if I say something, what happens if I, swear?
Yeah.
Like, well,
we beep them out. It's okay.
Yeah. It's not like we have an audience of thousands.
It's the excitement we like to bring to our guests' lives.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bit of adrenaline. So
Yes.
do you have any idea how many people listen via the different means, or even, where they come from?
Yes and no. It's a bit hard to add up. We have we're signed up to a tracking website, and that through that code, that shows, I don't know, it's about 200 or 300 a week that download the show. But then there's the people that watch it on YouTube, which is probably, it's not many. I mean, we don't have thousands, but it might be, 30 or 40 on YouTube. iTunes is a bit hard to sort of track. But then if you go throughout
this, doing analytics for iTunes yet, and that was one of the promises 4 years ago.
I know. But then if I go through the website, like through my hosting, it shows a completely different number, and this is where it gets all weird. So it might show that we've had, 2,000 downloads of one of the MP3s. It's like, well, that's not what I'm looking at on my tracking. So yeah, I would probably say realistically, it's probably about 250 a week.
Okay. Because I know, when I say look for a podcast, I'm the old-fashioned. I'll Google it and then just listen. I don't know, just off your site. So does that would that count in the tracking or whatever? Or
it does now, because the player that I've got is tied to the tracking people.
Okay, yeah. Because I know when you're meant to subscribe and that, I never really worked that out. Yeah, because it never seems to pop, if you subscribe to a show, it never seems to sort of pop up the shows don't sort of automatically pop up on your phone or anything like that. So
No, they should.
They should if you
I don't know what I'm
subscribe through. Depends on what app
they should
you've
pop
got.
up on it. I mean, that's kind of the
The
goal.
point. Okay.
Mm.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'm a bit of a techno idiot. So
That's right. We can help you out with that after the show.
yeah, okay.
Off air.
After the show.
Um,
And are they? So the listeners, have you got any idea where they're hailing from, or
it's usually the States, UK.
is all Catherine's fan base? Okay.
It's Catherine's family. Yeah.
Yeah, my family, both of them.
A few in Australia, but yeah, it's mainly overseas, from what I gather. Yeah, I haven't really looked into it. I do occasionally get like the WordPress site will send me that thing once a year where it says this is where people have come from, and you just know that some of them are spammers when it's like one from Nigeria, two from Ecuador. Like, yeah, right.
But the Nigerian one is very, very persistent.
I know, and he's got a lot of money.
Yes,
Put it into this bank account.
Yeah. So. I don't know,
And you've been going for 5 years. Is there any, aside from my interview, any other memorable interviews or people you've really enjoyed interviewing that spring to mind? Just to put you on the spot.
Yeah, who was the one that did the show naked?
What?
Robbie Summers Bryant. And she, it was hot. It was really hot here in California. And we were talking about the weather because we do.
Yeah.
And she says, yeah, at the very end, it was the very end of the interview. And she says, yeah, I'm so hot. I'm just sitting here naked because she thought we were done.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
And there
was it a video call?
No.
No. Okay.
No, we were still recording.
And because didn't she say something like, oh, yeah, I love the Aussie accent. And, oh, it's so hot. I'm sitting here naked. And it's that moment you go, what? Okay.
Bit of static on the line. Did I hear that right?
Howard Stern.
Did it change the interview at all?
Well, no, because I was like, oh, okay, well, thanks for being on. It was literally at that point, and I was just going to play the outro music anyway. Like,
Yep, and we just went from there.
Yeah. I think I made a comment about switching the video.
You learned about the writing or books, or it was the naked factor.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's where my brain goes. We had a bit of a disappointing moment with quite a famous author that I managed to get, because I said to Catherine, I'd like to try and sort of shoot for the stars, because we have new authors on, and some well-respected, very busy authors, but I wanted to go for that level of household name author.
Yeah, right.
And Catherine's like, go on then, you can try. And I just sent this author an email, and he responded. I was like,
wow.
Shit. And I was a fan of his too. And he said, yeah, I'll be on. I'd like to be on. And
wow.
Yep. And
a personal response.
Yes. And we organised it. It was back and forth between like Catherine and I and him. And it happened to be, and we stuff this up every year. You'd think after like 5 years we would get this right.
Oh, no.
But daylight savings changed for us, and then it changed for Catherine, I think the week before. I can't remember.
Yeah. Anywhere from a week to a month, depending on when it shifts. So it's not consistent on any level.
No, and it puts the gap out. So we do this show, 8:30 my time without fail, and then Catherine's time does fluctuate because she's got that flexibility in the afternoon, right? So it's sometimes 2 o'clock her time, 2:30, 3:30, whatever. I got up early because I was a little bit on edge about doing it. I was like, that was one of the few times I sort of got uptight about interviewing someone. I was up at 7:30 and I see my Skype with a line of abuse from this person going, I have effing been here waiting for you. I can't believe you've done this. Blah, blah, blah.
Oh my gosh.
Catherine logs in. She's like, hey, I'm all ready. And I'm like, here's the messages. Turned out we were sort of on time, but he hadn't changed. Is it because he was on the other side of the country? Catherine couldn't remember.
Yeah, he was on the East Coast. And it was not clear about. I try to be, very clear about where I am. And I say, West Coast, Pacific Standard Time, Pacific Daylight Time. I'm getting very good about this time thing, And it went right out of his head.
Yeah.
I don't know how to. I don't want to sit there and email a guest like every hour. Are you sure? It's this time.
Yeah. And so for him,
he had the wrong time completely.
Yeah. So 3 o'clock.
But once he abused you, I guess there was no going back to he wasn't going to back down, I suppose.
Yeah. And so we tried to do that thing of saying, hey, look, we'll rebook you in, honest mistake. It's 3 o'clock where Catherine is, but that turned out to be 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock where he was.
Right.
We're happy to try and shift some things around. And he's like, nah, never again, blah, blah, blah. And I was going to send him one back that was just a big, F you, basically.
Right.
But I sent an email to Catherine first. See, like the wife teaches me as well with business. Don't send those emails. So I tend to type them and then show them to her, and she go, "Okay, delete. Let's write the proper one."
You probably don't want a black mark against your name in the publishing world.
Yes, this is right. So I said, Catherine,
not really the reputation we wanted.
No. Have you read any of his books since?
I did. And
you did.
And it was terrible. It was really poorly written. And
maybe he just wrote it after the podcast.
Yeah.
But
yeah, maybe.
He was still
angry. You now.
Because I have sort of mentioned, what I thought of his book after that. But it was just a bit poor. And I think it was poor timing on his behalf. He was claiming, he had a couple of family issues or whatever. But still, it just blew it. I thought, wow, someone that is up there can still be a dick, basically.
Yeah. You hope that if you do have a level of success, it won't go to your head, that you won't become one of those sort of people, but you just don't know, do you?
Well, the thing is, I was getting feedback from various people saying, wow, he doesn't do interviews, or wow, how did you get him to do that? And a little part of me started to think that maybe there was a pang of the, oh crap, I'm going to do an interview, came in. You know when someone gets so hepped up about something so minor, it's kind of covering something else.
Right.
Oh.
It was
Yeah. So he was nervous about it and then it didn't happen.
That's the vibe I got.
Okay.
Yeah. Or just, he was dealing with a whole lot of other things.
Okay.
And the podcast snafu was in front of him so he could yell at us.
Yeah.
Without yelling at perhaps what the real problem was.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe
And
there's an illness in the family or something's really irrevocable.
Yeah.
And so, but at the same time, then we're allowed to say, wow, that last book was pretty bad, wasn't it?
Okay.
I think we have that right.
Yeah. It keeps your history as a podcast interesting. Anyway, it couldn't all be lovely interviews and
no. We sometimes mess up and things don't work out or people don't show up and we come up with all sorts of things can happen. That's the beauty of podcasting, I think, is that it's very real.
Yeah. And we had her on recently. My mind's gone blank. I made a comment after we had a guest on who was sitting in the library foyer on her mobile and the door kept shutting on her. And so every 2 minutes you'd hear clonk, 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 clonk. Well, I made the comment the show afterwards saying, and our guest this week is not sitting in a library, so at least we won't hear the clunking. Well, she was back on the show, I don't know, like only about a month ago. And she said, it's all right, Damien, I'm not in the library this time. It's fine.
Yeah. Just never know who's listening.
Someone's listening.
Yeah, but if you're worried about who was listening, then you wouldn't do. I wouldn't say half the shit I'd say.
It wouldn't be real.
We would not say what we say. I agree. I think it's more fun because we just do it because we love writing. We want to reach out. We want to reach out to people who want to write, and there's a lot to this industry now that can be very confusing. And I'd like to bring in people that'll help that journey, and that's the whole reason. It's like that's it for us.
Yeah. Do you usually have a particular room that you're recording from, each of you?
Yeah, I've got my office, which has become more of a studio.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm more flexible because I travel around a little bit more.
Okay.
So as long as I have a computer in a quiet room, although we did have the one where my complete internet went down, and I did our show on an iPad in my driveway.
Yes.
Oh.
That was good.
Look, It worked. Didn't you? You had the phone
No, when
tech
you-
there, I think, on the day.
Oh yeah, well, I had all sorts of things. That was the one day that every neighbor decided to have a loud drive-by.
Yeah.
Oh.
And nothing but traffic. We had the guys coming in and out trying to fix the internet, and we have a guest on the show. I'm trying to
Oh
talk.
my gosh.
It was hilarious. Damon did a great job just taking over from that. So every once in a while he would just say, "So Catherine, what do you say? Yes, good." She says yes, and this went on.
Yeah, it was all right.
She's very quiet today, that Catherine.
Well,
Right.
Yeah.
it became a thing. Catherine, can you tell that guy doing the burnout behind you to stop for a minute? It was
Right.
so
It was
silly.
Totally like that. It was really bad,
Hmm.
but we did. We just
Yeah.
we moved on, and I don't do it when I travel in Europe. I just don't even bother trying to do the show because the timing is so off
Okay.
that it's
So
just
you-
really it's really difficult for us to kind of make that coordinate.
So then, Damien, you would just be running the show?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And because it's sort of run from my end anyway with the broadcast bit,
The technical
He's
stuff.
the
So-
tech guy. Yeah.
it's easy for me just to call someone in and we'll do it. And we have, guest hosts, which is going to be you now.
Yeah.
If Catherine's not available, because I think
Did you know that you were auditioning for a new guest host post?
Oh, really? No.
you have no choice now.
Oh.
But look, it's one of those things. I come from, like, my family background is into radio, TV, music, all that sort of stuff. So I had all the gear anyway, microphones, mixing consoles, rack gear. So it just all plugs in, and it just looks like a flight deck in here now. It's ridiculous. So it makes it easier for me to then run the show that way, and I can just call Catherine in. If it goes down, then we're in trouble.
Okay.
I don't ever know. You see, that's the problem we do have, is that if I'm not available, then the show doesn't happen.
Right.
Yeah, but
because
it
that-
hasn't
that's
happened
just-
yet.
Yes, it has. It happened 2 weeks ago. I was like, no, I can't do it. I'm working.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, every once in a while, real life, gets in the way, and we just go with that.
Yeah.
And so someone on Twitter sent me a message saying, whatever happened to the show must go on.
Oh,
And-
ouch.
I said,
For what we make per show, really, it doesn't have to go on.
yeah, and so does my mortgage.
Right.
No, look, sometimes it's just one of those things. It's not a job, so we can occasionally just go, nah, we're not doing it this week. Couldn't be bothered.
Yeah.
I know it lets people
For
down.
whatever
so do.
reason, because life happens. People get sick. You need to help a family member. I need to leave the country. I mean, we've got all this stuff that goes on, so we just go for it. I think that's key to making this last as long as it has. Is we don't have anything rigid about the show, and we don't have rigid expectations about what it's supposed to be doing, either for us or for our listeners. It just is what we do.
Mm.
It's more organic, I guess.
And how did the ebook come about? It's an ebook?
Well, no, it's going to be a published book.
Oh,
Like printed.
okay. A real,
A real book.
Yeah, real book.
digital and print book. Sorry. They're all real books. I have ebooks, so.
There you go. There you go, listeners. If you've got an ebook, it's not a real book. I like Carla.
I have both. It's okay. Sorry.
Oh, it's like me with when I say, pen names. Use your real name. Stop hiding behind your own name. And then you get loads of
use your
emails
real
and
name.
tweets.
That's our thing.
Anyway. Yes. How did it come about? I don't know. Catherine, because you've got the book Don't Write Like I Talk. Don't Write Like You Talk.
Don't write like you talk. Yes.
And you were saying it's time to sort of have a rehash. And that looking back on 4 years, I think it was like coming up to the 200th episode. It's like, well,
yeah.
maybe we should do something together, pull on what we've sort of talked about. And so that's how it came together. So Catherine started to pull all that together. I think you went through all the show notes. You started to listen to all the shows from number one, and wow why?
I know that fell off fast. I thought,
Yeah.
I kept looking at the number. It's like, oh, I don't think this is the way to go about this.
Now, I talk to him every week. Why do I need to hear him in my car 5 days a week to try and catch up?
So we went at it differently, and we approached it as subject. We approached it by subject matter as opposed to show. And then I took things that we had discussed, things that other authors had told us, and then put it together in that manner so that it's we talk about memoir, and then so we have Linda Joy Meyer, who is the head of the National Memoir Association, and her quotes. And then we talk about, how, kind of how to write. And so we have a number of writing coaches who we've interviewed. We have what we put in, what they've commented about. When we talk about agents, we have the interviews that we've done with agents. So that's how we approach it. So it could be subject based. And so somebody could go through the book and say, well, I don't really care about agents right now, but I'm really interested in indie publishers. Oh, look, here's the chapter on indie publishers.
And we took the same approach as we do with the show. So Catherine put the core of the info down from the pro sort of point of view, and then I would put my bit in as the newbie. And so it would be, this is what I picked up over the last 4 years, or and
so he can agree. Sometimes he agrees, sometimes he disagrees, sometimes he says no, I don't think it's that way at all. So we wanted it to be that conversational tone that we've had on the show. Yeah. So it was like
there's no one way. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
skinny cat.
then we could flip it over when we did there was a chapter on podcasting. So then that's sort of more my domain with the tech side.
And you're all a pro.
Yeah. And then so Catherine could put her bit in.
You talked about it. Mm-hmm.
So that's where we sort of.
Is it humorous?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
And how big a book is it? How long?
That's a good question.
70,000 words, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just shy of 70,000, I think.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It gets a bit blurry and I could see and it was good for me as the newbie to go through this, because you can see when someone's written something, that ain't the end of it.
No.
Draft 1, draft 2, draft 3. And then you have that wonderful thing when you're collaborating with someone of sharing your edits with that other person and the compatibility. So Catherine might be using a different version of Word to what I'm using.
Oh, right, yes.
And so she sent me all the edits one week going, oh, here, I've done my bit. And I was scrolling through going, how come that chapter's got a blank page in the middle? How come that's indented over to the right there? Blah, blah,
blah. We did have formatting challenges.
Yeah, so I'd email and go, why did you indent all of that on the chapter on editing? So I didn't do anything. What are you talking about?
That's right.
And I'd send it back and she'd go, it looks fine my end. I'm like, oh, shit. So we got to deal with it.
Update your Word.
It was almost as bad as our time zones.
Yes, it was.
Okay. Yeah.
It was a bit.
And are there pictures or graphs or things like that? Or is it just words?
It's just words. There's no pictures.
Okay.
We don't even know. I mean, really, we didn't know what each other looked like for about a year and a half. So.
Okay.
Are there pictures?
You know what I mean? Like
no photos, please.
No.
Okay. Don't write like we talk the pop-up version. What a cool idea.
That'd be funny.
And do you know when it's coming out or where people will be able to get it? Or
we do not
any
know
of that?
It's coming out. People will probably be able to get it on Amazon when it finally does come out. And of course, we'll just flog that baby for about a year. So
right. Okay.
All over. We'll interview each other. So how's the book going? Well, I don't know. How is the book going?
Yeah. Look, we're at that point. We've literally only sent the contract back, I don't know, 2 weeks ago. And we've gone through
we just started this.
Ideas for covers, and they've said that they'll take a look at it for the edits and then get back to us. But they were very specific. That was something that I was quite pleased with, that everything had to be back from us to them. Once they've sent us, you need to change the following, we want this rearranged like that, within a year of signing that contract, so it doesn't drag on,
right?
Which I thought was good. So it can go backwards and forwards as much as we like, but in March next year is the deadline. It's got to be out.
They're very good at saying, that's it. Kind of freeze the design, and that's true for the cover too. We have two options. We have two times we get to look at the cover and make suggestions, and then from there they say, all right, freezing the design, moving on. So and I appreciate that. Well, I appreciate we have feedback on things like the cover, because in a lot of cases with a larger publisher, there's no feedback. They just say, look, here's your cover, and you say, whoa. But you have no choice.
Do you like it? Yes.
And exactly. And your answer has to be yes, because there is no option. So we're fortunate with California Press that they give us those options.
Okay. And so are they a non-fiction specific sort of publisher? or they do everything, do they?
They do everything, I think,
Oh, okay.
because
Yeah.
they recently purchased the publisher that Catherine was with.
Oh, right. Okay.
So they're becoming a bit of a conglomerate, I think. Is the
Yeah.
word for that.
Yeah.
So,
See, with the big boys.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably.
But it's So 5 years on, and for this podcast to have, continued, and now you have a book out together, you'd say it was a success. It's been a success. It continues to be.
Yeah. So yeah, probably.
Sure, we can go with that. Just go with it.
Go with it. Now you've been through editing hell together.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been really good to sort of you gain friends over the years as well, and people with those skills that you can sort of now abuse, which is really good. So I can say, well, we've got this, and send it off to someone and say, hey, can you have a quick look at this? You're an editor. Or in the case of someone else, hey, you're a lawyer. Can you have a look at the contract? Like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
No worries.
Yeah, could that help? That was very helpful.
Okay, yeah. You've made friends in all the right places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the Australian way, I think, isn't it? Really? It's like, hey, we're friends, but how can I take advantage of that?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Friends
How
with
can I
benefits.
exploit your talent?
Hey,
Let's do that.
hang on. Friends with benefits?
Not those kind of benefits, but you never know. No. No.
Jeez.
Yeah, okay. And the only other question I had was, what other podcasts do you like listening to, if you want to answer that?
I listen to a lot of podcasts.
You could be here all day.
No. Hollywood Babylon is a really good
Oh, yes, I
podcast.
did tune in the other day. Yeah, to them.
Kevin Smith and Ralph Garman. That's good. That's sort of a real piss take on Hollywood, which I like because they're just weird. See, I was very influenced by Scott Johnson, who runs Frog Pants Studios, and he does The Instance, The Morning Stream, Hypothetical Help, all these podcasts. And the way he does his shows is influential in a sense. It's really honest, and there's no fluff.
Okay.
So he's not trying to be radio. He's not trying to polish it. And that's what I liked. And he'd talk about his podcast a bit, where he'd say it literally just goes out. Once we've done the show, I save it and out it goes. And I've adopted that as well. I think it makes it more genuine.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've got to know other podcasters over time. And the biggest question they ask me usually off air is, so how long do you spend editing your show? Like, about 30 seconds, actually. I get rid of that sound, that ding at the start and ding at the end, and out she goes. And
Ding, ding.
ding, ding. And one of them was like, but I spend days editing it and chopping it up and making it. Why?
Oh, no. And it sort of goes against the whole gestalt of what podcasts are. If we wanted it to sound like NPR, we would have recorded and started to work with NPR, but it's just us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's different.
And people like that feel of sort of eavesdropping on a conversation, I think.
Well, we had a tweet only 2 or 3 days ago. Someone said, I've discovered your show. It's very conversational. And I wasn't sure if that was
very conversational.
Yeah, it wasn't passive aggressive much, but
thanks.
I said, that's the idea.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing.
That is the idea.
I listened to a few podcasts before we started this one. That was the other thing that sort of sparked me wanting to do this, is that was so boring. There was one, so today I'm going to read out a chapter and then we'll discuss why there was excess use of full stops. And I literally was going, are you for real? And just this long sort of quiet pauses, and you could hear the page turn. Like, wow.
Sounds riveting.
Yeah. And I thought, why does it have to be?
If you get in a car accident, if you listen to that in the car because you go to sleep, that's very
okay, yeah. Not because you're so excited by it. Okay.
Yeah. And look, there's probably a place for that, and there are other shows that I've listened to where it is very sort of, we're getting to the nuts and bolts of writing. We're going to do this and this. But I couldn't do that. And so I thought, well, if someone like Scott Johnson can do a genuine, light-hearted show about things, why can't we apply that to something like writing? Let's give it a go.
Yes.
And it seems to work. So
it does.
So far.
Because people, look, and
4 years.
I liken it to, it's, if anyone's ever confused or they ask me what the show's about, I said it's a bit like being at a barbecue or a lunch and you say to someone, "Oh, what do you do?" And they go, "I'm an author." That's where our show starts from.
Yeah. Do you say that now, Damien? Now you've got your book on the way?
No.
Oh, no.
No. I don't know. I don't feel like I'm there yet.
Okay. But even if you write, you're a writer, whether you're published or not.
That's right.
Apparently. So, yeah.
Apparently. But yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things. I think
you're not putting it on your passport information or whatever.
No.
No. Okay.
I think that for those people that make it their sort of life goal, that it's their thing. We have these people on that say, I stopped working in a bakery and I became an author, I became a writer, and it's their full focus. I think then, yes, I would say, yeah, I'm a writer, but I'm not.
There's probably not many people that can do writing as a full-time job.
No, this is true.
That would be correct.
Yeah,
There are
or fiction writing,
that.
I'd say it's more of a hobby.
Yeah, okay.
And the podcast is a hobby as well, but it takes up a little bit more time. And that's the other thing we discover very quickly is people say, set aside some time. Set aside. We even had a whole show where Catherine's going, I told a client to set aside a Saturday morning from like 8:30 till 10 to do his writing, blah, blah, blah. And I just said, and then there'd be no podcast. So
it's holding you back. No.
Yeah. Catherine, the show's holding me back.
It's your excuse.
God. Anyway.
No, you're writing after this, aren't you?
No, I'm going grocery shopping after this.
It's Saturday morning. He's going grocery shopping.
Did you hear that?
Excuses, though.
But it's a bit weird. I don't know. And have you ever had to do this, Carla? Where you do your grocery shopping and the person at the checkout says, so what have you got up to today? And I have said a couple of times, so it makes you sound like a bit of a wanker. I've gone, oh, yeah, I've just finished doing my podcast. And they look at you like, well.
They wouldn't hear that very often.
No. And there was that slow blink, like, okay.
Now what do I say?
Yes.
Slow blink.
Are you still recording?
It was a bit like, hey, I just threw a bag of kittens off the roof type look.
Oh, gosh. Wow.
Anyway, so yes. That's what I'm doing after this. Anyway, what else have we got?
That was it for my questions.
Oh.
Yeah. But if there's anyone you'd like to ask yourself.
We don't need to ask ourselves anything, because that would be another hour.
Damien, why?
Are you doing your usual things? Like, don't you the weird word of the week or all those sort of things?
Well, funny you should mention that. That is in the show notes.
Okay.
They are in the show notes.
Yes. All right. Well, let's do a word of the week, shall we?
All right, because I've got another cool one just for you.
Right. So this came from the Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows.com. I still love that. It's so emo.
Isn't it great?
I know. I feel like I need to comb my fringe over my eye and play with it. This one is. Oh, this sounds gross. Excellences.
Excellences, I think.
Excellences. The tendency to give up trying to talk about an experience because people are unable to relate to it. Oh, like this show.
Oh my gosh.
Whether through envy or pity or simple foreignness, which allows it to drift away from the rest of your life story until the memory itself feels out of place, almost mythical. Wandering endlessly in the fog, no longer even looking for a place to land. This place does that's way too long.
I know, that's why it's so awesome. That way, the obscure sorrow part is so great.
I know. So there you go. Excellences. Wow. The tendency to give up trying to talk about an experience.
Wow.
It's
depressing.
Oh, look, I get that a lot when you get to, go to family functions, really.
Where you're just,
or at the checkout.
And we should look at it. There should be a word that says, I call it revisionist history, but I think we need a better word. So you go to a family event and you have a sibling who's telling a story about your childhood and you don't recognize it.
I haven't had that happen before.
Oh, it happens all the time in the Irish Catholic side of our family, where it's like, my husband just looks at his sister and brother and like, was I there? Don't recognize the story at all. It gets better every telling.
Yes,
so.
yeah.
Well,
that sounds like my dad, actually. Is your husband from a big family?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the big family thing. They need to get attention or something, or
Yeah,
To
that
one
could
up.
very well be.
make their tails bigger and bigger.
But how do you go with that, Carla, though, if you're at a family function and someone's like, so, how's the writing? It's like that condescending thing of, why don't you get a real job? You know?
Yeah, I always play it down. Like I always, like, oh, you don't know much doing writing. And, I'm just starting out and play. You think people think, oh, you're an idiot, you're dreaming, or I don't know. Even if I have something good happening, I always feel awkward talking about it. I think unless you were, I don't know, J.K. Rowling or something. Yeah, I think it sounds a bit, airy-fairy saying you're a writer. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Why don't you should just try the other thing and just talk and talk and talk it up.
I know, I should. Yeah.
Because
I don't know. I think it's just I'm always. It doesn't matter. It could be anything in my life. I suppose I'll probably just play it down.
no, you should try. I do this to my brother-in-law. It really makes me feel uncomfortable because he'll come up to me and he'll say, "So, how's work?" And I go, "Oh, work's so flat out at the moment. We've got this on, blah blah blah. I'm looking for more people." And then he just ends up just staring at me. I go, "Right, anyway, I'm gonna go get a drink," and I'll just walk away. So that's how you should do it. Just go all out. Just go, I'm writing.
Just do it, right?
We just don't know if people are really that interested, or or they're just asking because.
Yeah, they're asking because.
Just being nice, and then do you say something nice? How's the writing going? Oh, it's going really well. And I'm done. I don't even bother to tell them what it is. I had one friend who thought I was writing a book about Supergirl because he wasn't listening.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
But it's about using choice words too. Like
I've got some kids coming in the background. They're meant to be in the other side of the house. Sorry.
And it sounds like they're renovating. Yeah, but just use choice words. Just say to your sister-in-law, whoever asks you, and go, well, I was chatting to the publisher at length about my latest book that's going to come out. And
I know, didn't you love that? It's like, oh my god, I wanted to say that forever.
Yeah, make them really just awkward. Oh, I was on Twitter the other day promoting my latest works. It was quite fun, and I was on a podcast and a radio show. Just go all out. They're not going to care.
Yeah.
You could say you were hosting, or you were a guest host on a radio show. Oh my god.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Exactly. Anyway.
Yeah, I should. And I think our jobs are probably a lot more interesting than some people's, and yet we still can't talk about it, for some reason. But or maybe that's just me.
I don't know. And I like to be a bit of a storyteller. So I have strange things happen to me all the time. So that also makes conservative family members feel a bit weird. And it's like they look at me like, why do we need to know that the guy in the induction at a building site said that someone pooped in a drain yesterday? Like it's not relevant, but it makes them feel really uncomfortable.
But it's a really nice non sequitur. I give you a lot of credit for those.
Anyway, should we do a prompt?
But you need the people that tell the stories. Otherwise it'd be a very boring dinner party or whatever.
I know, but I had
you need to invite the Damiens of the world.
Yeah, but my wife.
All right, so you want to do a prompt?
Yes, but just my wife said to me once, there are times where you don't need to talk. My family's used to just sitting in silence. And yes, but I'm not used to that.
No, I couldn't do the silence thing. That would make me nuts.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why we're good partners.
Never a silent moment. All right, prompt.
Prompt.
You can read.
So the prompt is interview yourself.
Right.
How does your life read when it's filtered, summarized, and improved for an article?
Mm-hmm.
Did you skip the boring parts?
No.
Why were they boring? Did you immediately enhance an interesting story? Why that story? It's common practice to interview fictional characters as well. I don't know if you've seen Facebook parties or just blog posts where you interview your character. So what would your character say in an interview? Where's their headspace? Sometimes you can find a lot out just by pretending to interview your fictional hero or heroine.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Interview yourself.
Interview yourself.
Just don't do it out loud.
No, do not do it out loud.
Or on the bus.
Walking down the road.
Yeah, we're talking to the dog.
Yeah. And
you could interview the dog. Yeah, go on.
A tortured sentence.
Well, hang on. Would you interview yourself? Would the interviewer have a different voice?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't gotten that far. I'm not that. I'm schizophrenic, but not that schizophrenic.
I'm schizophrenic, but the voice in my head told me to not say that.
Yes, that's right. Shh, be very quiet.
Speaking of which,
Don't tell them about us.
next time, don't put the wrong emphasis on the right syllable. Tortured sentences. Yeah, that
That
happened.
was us on the 7th show when we realized it wasn't going to be just 6.
Was that the 7th or 8th show? I think it was. I think that's right, because Catherine said, I've got these sentences that my students submit and they're just woeful. I'll call them a tortured sentence. So I made that. I'm
Sentences.
screaming into a microphone on a day off.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds really filmic.
I like that. I like that. I like that. I like the setup. Okay, so this is from one of my students.
It says, we live in a world where technology and communication is not predominantly through technology, which is now an essential to life.
What?
What? I'm confused.
What?
So we live in a world with technology and communication, but it's not through technology.
No, or not predominantly through technology.
So what's it
So the
through?
technology is coming through another technology that's not as predominant.
Yeah, right.
Right.
So again, Rob on Twitter, he'd asked if we could correct this. I don't think you can correct that sentence, really.
Oh, so he was wanting help with it, was he?
No, we got a follower on Twitter who says, I like your tortured sentences, but maybe you guys should actually correct them.
Ah, okay, right, yeah.
And what they should be. I think the only way you could fix this one is to remove the predominantly through technology and just say, we live in a world where technology and communication is now essential to life.
Yes. Yeah, because I think that in a roundabout way, that's where the author was trying to go. And she just wasn't getting there in a linear fashion.
Did she send that to you from her phone?
No.
Oh.
No, that was from a paper.
Wow. They still have them, do they?
Yeah.
You see where I'm going with this, Kath.
Old fashioned. No, she posted it online, so we're doing technology. It's okay.
Oh, I don't know. I'm a big tech head. These people who say, and I've got a mate of mine who he works in AV, right? So we're surrounded by the latest technology, and yet he hates it. He's like,
how funny.
His house is like just a couch, pretty much. It's like, I don't need any of this stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like a minimalist thing. And I said, isn't that ironic that you don't really like technology at all, but your profession is latest technology?
That is so bizarre. Maybe it's put him off.
Maybe, or maybe he just needs a break.
I don't know. I don't know. I like the toys and the new things. That's my thing. I don't know. People buy pens and collect stuff. I collect.
You buy gadgets.
Yeah.
Toys. Yeah,
So-
yeah.
Well, I don't necessarily need to buy them because I'm around them. So a client will buy the latest gadget. Like, cool, I get to play with this for 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's kind of
Your
best.
job is your passion.
Yeah, well, that's the idea.
Yeah.
I never believe in doing a job you hate. So if you don't like your job, why are you doing it?
Right.
And I don't buy that for a second when someone says, well, because I need the work, I need the money. Rubbish. Go find that job that you want to do. There's my preach for the day.
Add your soapbox for today.
Yes, I shall step down. Anyway. All right. Well, that'll do it for this show. Thank you, Carla, for coming on. That's fun.
Yeah, thank you, Carla. That was fun.
Yeah, thanks for letting me interview you, and hope your listeners have learnt lots.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how the complaints level goes.
Roll
Yeah.
with- yeah.
Anyway, if you've got any complaints, send them in to Carla at... Oh, I won't give that.
Yeah. I don't mind. No,
It's all good.
I'm used to them.
Yeah. Anyway, well, hang on. Let's do a quick spread. What have you got going on for you?
I've got a free anthology out in the ebook called Summer Days with a few other chick lit authors or romantic comedy authors. It'd be right up your alley, Damien.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
He
So
loves
short-
the love
short.
stories.
So just in time for the American summer. It's called Summer Days. Yeah.
Isn't there a song in that?
Yeah, there is.
DAZE, I should say, just in case you're looking it up.
Oh, DAZE.
Right.
Yes.
So like summer concussion. Cool.
Yeah.
Summer headline.
And where can people find you out on the internet?
Me on the interwebs. Carla, Carla Caruso, Caruso.com.au.
Awesome. There you go.
Yeah.
Where can people find us, Catherine?
Where can people find me?
Hmm.
Yourbookstartshere.com is the website. I blog on Newbie Writers and on Your Book Starts Here. And you can find me at Twitter at @CBramcamp. You can follow me on Instagram at Catherine Bramcamp Writer, # Catherine Bramcamp Writer. And we have the Facebook group, Newbie Writers Group. And I post a lot of information for newbie writers or sophisticated, well-published writers as well. And
Not like
Twitter, Facebook, and then they can find you on Google Plus because I am not on Google Plus.
And if you want to just come and talk drivel with me on Twitter, it's at Newbie Writers. Just send me anything. Don't spruik your book to me, but just
Yeah, don't do that. Just talk to us. The spruiking thing gets old.
Yeah, it does. All right. Who have we got on next week?
Tom Daldorf, who has been the editor of Celebrate magazine, which is all about beer. So we're going to talk about beer next week.
Cool. Well, that's going to be good.
I thought you'd like that.
I wonder if I can drink at 8:30 in the morning.
Well, he might be drinking because it'll be in the afternoon here.
Anyway.
So Tom and I will drink beer and we'll tell you how it is.
Great. Sounds riveting. Anyway.
Service I offer.
Well, until next week. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Your book starts here on the Newbie Writers Podcast.